All right, everybody, welcome back to the Branch 458 podcast. I'm Casey Ritchie. I know what you're thinking. It's been a while since we've had an episode. Most of that is my fault, but I plan to change that. We're going to start putting episodes back out. And please, if you guys have any suggestions for topics you want to hear about something specific, even if we've covered it in the past, let me know what it is. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to come up with new topics, try to keep things relevant. And then also, I don't like just reading things all the time because, frankly, I just don't like it. So I don't like it, and then I don't feel like you guys like it. So if I'm wrong about that, let me know. But unfortunately, even though I just said that, I will be reading some things today. But please bear with me because it is important. If it wasn't important, I wouldn't be reading it. Trust me on that one. So today, it went into effect. I had a lot of questions about it today from several people. But yesterday, April 9th, the Postal Service released a statement that it would be suspending the contributions, the employer contributions to the federal employee retirement system. Most of us call that FERS. So I want to talk about that. They also released a Q&A, which I'm kind of surprised they did release a Q&A. It means that they were a little bit prepared for this to happen. But there's also a statement by our national president, Brian Renfro. So I'll read that. But first, let me get into the background of what the Postal Service released. So this is what the background says on the Postal Service's, let's just call it a memo. So it says, due to pending liquidity crisis in which the Postal Service could run out of cash as early as February 2027, the Postal Service Board of Governors has decided to suspend Postal Service's employer contributions for FERS annuities effective April 10th. The Postal Service will continue to withhold employees' contributions to FERS and will transmit those amounts to the Office of Personnel Management, OPM. Additionally, the Postal Service will continue to transmit the employer automatic and matching contributions and employee contributions to the Thrift Savings Plan, TSP. There will not be any immediate detrimental impact to our current or future retirees if normal FERS cost payments are temporarily withheld. The risk to the Postal Service and the American public for insufficient liquidity for postal operations dramatically outweighs any longer-term risk to pension funds from not making the current due payments. It must be noted that the Postal Service pension system remains much better funded than other agencies. FERS employees have three parts to their retirement benefits: the FERS annuity, the Thrift Savings Plan, and the Social Security. The Postal Service and the employees make contributions to FERS, TSP, and Social Security. The board is only suspending employer payments to the FERS annuity. All other payments, employee contributions to FERS, and employer and employee contributions to TSP and Social Security will continue. That was the background on the memo released by the Postal Service. So now I want to go ahead and read the statement that was released by our national president, Brian Renfro. And it reads, today, the Postal Service announced it will temporarily pause employer contributions to the defined benefit portion of the Federal Employees Retirement System, FERS, account through the end of the fiscal year. This pause has no immediate impact on any current or future retired letter carriers. This move is necessitated by the Postal Service's current financial situation and is a direct result of continued inaction by Congress to fix the legislative constraints that inhibit the Postal Service's ability to invest in its infrastructure and modernize to meet the needs of the employees and the American people. If Congress were to allow for a new investment strategy for USPS retiree health and pension funds, a fair recalculation of the agency's civil service retirement system, pension obligations, and an increase in the agency's borrowing authority, this pause in FERS contributions would not be necessary. It is time for Congress to act on these common sense policy changes to protect our jobs, retirements, and the essential and reliable service we provide to every American. And then there it says at the very bottom, more information is available here. So you can click on that link if you go to nalc.org, and the homepage that brings up as soon as you type that in your URL, it will have a link to this statement. Once you open this statement, you're able to click there and it gives you more information. So now let's go back to the memo that was released by the Postal Service. There are, let's see, there's 5 pages of questions. I don't want to read every single one of them here because honestly, some of them repeat themselves. It looks like a lot of this information was already stated in the background on the first page. However, I will put the link to this memo in the description of the podcast, and you can click on that and you guys can read it. But I just want to emphasize a few of these questions because I do feel like they are good questions. So the first question that I really want to emphasize and go over is the first question on the page is, why did the board take this action? And when it says the board, it means the Postal Board of Governors. The answer that it gives is, despite significant and ongoing cost-cutting actions and progress on new revenue generation, the Postal Service is in dire financial straits and is in danger of running out of cash as early as February of 2027. The board's action was based on a sound business judgment that prioritizes our competing obligation in a rational manner to conserve as much cash as possible so we can keep delivering the mail. The board's decision allows the Postal Service to continue making payroll and to pay suppliers who support the Postal Service in its mission of collecting, sorting, transporting, and delivering mail. The next question there is, how much does the Postal Service pay to OPM for the FERS program? The answer is the United States Postal Service pays about $200 million to OPM every other week for FERS annuities. The next one, how much will be saved by not making these payments? It is estimated that suspending payments to FERS will result in a savings of approximately $2.5 billion for this fiscal year. Here's another question I think should be highlighted. Are current FERS employees or retirees affected? The answer is the action will have no impact on current retirees. For current employees, the Postal Service will continue to transmit the OPM employees' contributions to FERS and also will continue to transmit employer automatic and matching contributions and employee contributions to the Thrift Savings Plan. A prior decision from the Office of Legal Counsel confirms the employees will continue to receive service credit towards their FERS annuity during the period of the suspension. So that's good. The next question, and this is so there's 2 questions, and I'm going to read both questions, and then I'm going to read the answer because the answer is nearly identical. So the first question is this action a permanent solution to returning the Postal Service to sound financial footing? The second question is, what specifically does the Postal Service want Congress to do? So those 2 answers are very, very close. They're very similar. And the answer is, legislative action is desperately needed to return the Postal Service to profitability. Despite cost reductions in areas within its control, and even with emergency action, the Postal Service needs Congress to enact common sense reform to help return it to financial stability. And then there's 4 bullets there. The first one, increase the Postal Service's borrowing authority from $15 billion to $34.5 billion. The second one, reform Civil Service Retirement System, CSRS, liability allocation methodology. The third one, provide flexibility in CSRS and FERS retirement fund investment. And then the fourth one, enable worker compensation reform. The FERS action we have just taken will buy some additional time for Congress to act, but we will need action this year to avoid additional measures which may be detrimental to our business. All right, next question. Is this action really needed? Was this decision made just to gain additional attention to your financial situation? The answer, we have to do this to preserve cash. If we don't act now, we could run out of cash as early as February. By conserving cash now, we avoid putting in jeopardy our mission of delivering the nation's mail. Couldn't you continue the FERS payment if you do more cost cutting and find new ways to boost revenue? The answer, we have aggressively cut costs in response to economic conditions and customer trends. While our losses continue to be driven by mandates and factors outside of our control, the Postal Service has in recent years undertaken an unprecedented transformation of our network and operating practices to reduce cost. The resulting cost reductions are significant. During the past 4 years, we have reduced total work hours by approximately 56 million hours and reduced our overall complement by 28,675 employees. We have also achieved significant reductions of transportation expenses, including a 46% decline in air transportation costs and 18% decline in overall network transportation costs since fiscal year 2022. Cumulatively, our network and transportation reforms have generated approximately $1 billion in savings through the end of fiscal year 25. These savings reflect deliberate action and sustainable improvements by the Postal Service to strengthen our financial position, all while building a modern, efficient, and reliable network that enables us to provide more consistent, reliable service for the American people. We will continue to aggressively reduce costs wherever we can as we leverage the opportunities presented by our transformed network and refined service standards. We will also continue to pursue opportunities presented by our improved network to grow revenue, particularly in our shipping business. Here's an interesting question. Many people aren't as reliant on the Postal Service as they used to be because of email, online banking, and other electronic forms of communication. Why should they care about this issue? The answer, the Postal Service is at the center of an estimated $1.9 trillion mailing industry, employing 7.9 million Americans. We need to do everything we can to make sure we can continue to deliver the mail. The cost of potential delivery disruptions to the economy and the country cannot be overestimated. Even the threat of such a disruption would have a significant impact on Americans' business. All right, next question. Surveys show the Postal Service is the most trusted government agency. Are you worried Americans won't view you as trustworthy because by not making these payments, you are violating the law? The answer, this action has no effect on the service we provide to the public, does not affect mail operations or delivery, and has no impact on our current employees and retirees. Americans trust us to do the responsible thing. Making sure we have the cash needed to fulfill our mission of delivering the mail is the trustworthy thing to do. The next question on page 4, so it says, how does the decision affect retirement coverage for FERS employees? And it breaks down 5 different sub-questions, I'll call them. The first one being the amount an employee withholds from their paycheck that goes into their thrift savings plan. Effect? None. Number 2, the automatic and matching contributions by the Postal Service to the employee's TSP. Effect? None. Number 3, Postal Service and employees' contributions to Social Security. Effect? None. Number 4, employee retirement contributions to FERS effect? None. Postal Service retirement contributions to fund the FERS annuity employees receive upon retirement effect. The Postal Service is temporarily suspending payments of this part. The next question on the page, I plan to retire later this year. How will this decision affect me? The answer, the decision will not have any impact on current employees. The next question, what effect will this have on current union contracts? The answer, the leaders of all postal unions have been notified about this decision. The decision has no impact on current contracts. The next question, what percentage of the postal workforce falls under the FERS program? Answer is 99% of career employees fall under FERS and 1% fall under the Civil Service Retirement System, CSRS. And then the last question, how does this decision affect employees in the CSRS system? And the answer, CSRS employees and retirees are not affected in any way. So that is the memo that was released by the Postal Service yesterday on April 9th. It went into effect today, April 10th. I hope that answers some questions. There are a few questions that I didn't say just because I felt like they were already answered in the background or in other questions. But if I didn't answer a question, it wasn't said on here, please look that up. I'll have the description to it in the podcast, or the link to it in the description of this podcast. I found it pretty easily. Just search it online, and then also go and look at the statement that I read by our national president, Brian Renfro. That is on NALC.org. They will continue to release both, I'm sure, on the Postal Service side and the NALC. So look for more information on that. And like I said, I plan on putting out more episodes, being more frequent with the episodes. So bear with me. Thank you for allowing me to have that big break, if you will. But I have a few episodes, ideas that I want to discuss in the future. But as I said earlier, if you have a topic that you would like me to discuss, please send an email to 458podcast@gmail.com. That way I can make sure that I cover that. We've had a few people suggest topics, in the past, and I have made sure to cover those topics. Um, we have the food drive coming up in less than a month. I hope everyone's prepared for that. Also, it is getting warmer outside, so dog bites, of course, dog attacks are on the rise because people leave their doors open. Dogs are able to get out. They roam. They're outside more. So just be cognizant of that. Just be aware of your surroundings when you're out there on your route. And as always, be safe. So thanks for listening. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.